one of the things that I was very adamant about with this collection is that we surface it on a map. I wanted people to see the scale of enslavement as reflected in our printed publications.
Hi, I'm Lisa Elzey.
Hi, I'm Nicka Sewell-Smith.
Today we're going to talk to Nicka Sewell-Smith about the articles of enslavement on Ancestry's newspapers.com site. This database, which launched last year in June 2024, is incredible. It gives so much detail, and it will also have subsequent updates that will be coming out and giving even more information. How did this even come to be something that you wanted to make happen? What was the genesis behind, hey, we have these different things in the newspaper that mention slavery, talk about the enslaved or seeking to find people, whatever they may be. How did that come to be in general to happen on Ancestry's newspapers?
So the thing is, we already have collections that are similar to this. We have the obituary index, we have the birth index, we have the marriage index. All of these indexes that were generated as a result of using AI with newspapers.com, the largest newspaper site in the world, I may add, which is a part of our Ancestry family. These collections, these indexes were created, teaching a computer to isolate articles that mention specific topics. So, again, it could be your grandmother's obituary, it could be stories and events, which is another one. That collection, the total sum of it stresses me out because it's so many records. But we've done so many of these projects, and me being a newspaper aficionado, I was the editor of my college paper. I love publications and the newspaper. When I saw this, I knew that it could be applied to enslavement because you're finding things in the paper such as auctions, runaway slave ads, one of the things you brought up last scene where people were seeking to be reunited with their family members, all sorts of things regarding enslavement, even obituaries of people who had died after slavery ended, but it referred back to their lives while they were enslaved. All sorts of stuff. And I raised it to our team at newspapers.com and I said, can we replicate what we've done with all these other collections and create an index? And they said, absolutely, let's do it. And so, as much as we think the robots can solve all of our problems, I wish one could iron my clothes, do the laundry, fix dinner, all those things. It's not quite that simple. The thing is, enslaved people were referred to in a number of different ways in the newspaper, different racial designations, where one ad may say a Negro man, one may say a slave woman or just a girl. It wouldn't necessarily say an enslaved person, but you knew that the individual was enslaved because of there being dollar values associated, traders, all of that kind of stuff. So we had to develop a list of terms to even teach the model, what to do. And that process was so interesting because I felt like I learned a lot just even with that.
So how does someone who's researching, say I'm just researching my tree and I want to dive into these records and see if maybe my ancestor has a connection to these records, what is your advice on using this database now that it's online on Ancestry and again, always updating? What's the best way to utilize that?
So number one, as always, make sure you do your due diligence in researching your tree and getting as close back to 1865 as possible. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is, even if you got a name of an enslaved person and maybe an enslaving family that you have from oral history, you just want to make sure that you are gathering all of the evidence and the clues along the way, starting from you and going back to the generations, because it will confirm and add breadth to your family story. And sometimes when you're along that journey, there are just pieces of the story that you can't get elsewhere unless you take that journey. So always be sure to do your traditional genealogy. From there, one of the things that I was very adamant about with this collection is that we surface it on a map. I wanted people to see the scale of enslavement as reflected in our printed publications. And so when you go on the landing page for articles of enslavement on the Ancestry version, you literally can see a US map where you can drill down to the state level or even to the county or parish, and it will show you the number of articles that are included within the collection. You can even search by name, you can limit it by the parish. There's all sorts of fields that we collected to make it easy for folks to find their ancestors, whether they're the formerly enslaved or whether they were involved in the system of enslavement.
it gives you ideas of what other records you need to maybe go look at. So if you have a sale that happens on a certain date in a certain county, then go look at some probate records with that enslaver in that county on that date and see, or even prior to that date, to see if there's some information that you can glean from that. So this collection is very much a part of a lot of collections that you need together to kind of put the puzzle together. It's not its own thing. I think you need to put probate, deeds, there's Freedmen's Bureau records, your own family tree. So it's not one of those you dive into immediately and just that's it, or my name of my person's not there, oh well. It gives you information that tells you the story, like you said, of that region and of slavery in that region. Knowing that there's so much story content in this collection, what has been your favorite discovery or story that you found?
One of the things that I loved finding, I remember I was just kind of browsing the map and I was like, why is there an article in this non-slave state? Like, period. Like, it was like, there shouldn't be an article of enslavement here. But what I found was a phenomenon of non-slave holding states where they would republish some of these ads in the newspaper as a way to sort of like poke fun or like bring to light the depravity of the whole institution.
Wow.
And it was interesting because I couldn't find the original publication that the original ad was in. So there's a whole host of reasons why that could be. It could be maybe we just don't have it. It could be the paper got destroyed, but had this other paper in a non-slave holding state not republished this, would there even be a record? I even found where newspapers, it was in Missouri, they were reprinting the ads 100 years later as like a retrospective, like 100 years ago, this is what was going on in this county. And I was blown away. Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, the date on this has got to be wrong. And no, it wasn't. The multi-state operation that this is, that part still continues to blow my mind, finding runaway ads for New Orleans in Mississippi or vice versa. It is really expanding our knowledge of the institution, and I think really challenging our whole idea of what local history is. I really honestly think that, especially with, some of the newer things that are on the horizon, the whole idea of local research is really, it's really United States research. It's no longer just your little county or your little parish. It's much broader than that now.
What an amazing database that we have on Ancestry with all of this information, all of this story, data leads, little nuggets of information to help you find your ancestor or the story surrounding your ancestor. How many records are in this database? How many different articles of enslavement? Do we even know?
So the total number for the collection right now is more than 183,000 enslaved people named, and this is coming from more than 38,000 articles. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. You have to think about how many, well, actually, we're over 1 billion pages on newspapers.com, right? Woo-hoo, celebrate that. But like, think about, anything pre-1865, and then, like we talked about before, the stuff after where it just kind of got picked up and covered. The potential is exponential. I mean, definitely it could be in the millions of articles that you could find that could be associated with this.
Yeah, so updates are key. Updates are the most important thing that we could do for this collection, just to keep getting you more and more data, more stories, more information. So if you haven't checked out this free database, please go on Ancestry.com or newspapers.com, go check it out. Also, you can attach those articles to your family tree, so make sure you have a family tree on Ancestry to then attach them to. We're so glad we were able to talk to you about this, and we're so grateful for all the many hands at Ancestry and newspapers.com that help make this database come to pass. We'll see you next time.